everybody. It is me, Monique Marvez, comedian, talk show hostess, podcaster, writer. I do a lot of things, but you know my favorite thing I've been doing lately? Ask me.
What is your favorite thing you've been doing lately?
Hanging out with you.
Oh my God, that is my favorite thing, except the opposite.
Yeah, totally like being your real friend. You know, like Pinocchio, you know, like I have no strings to hold me down.
And now we're hanging out with you. It's so good to see you all.
Yep.
I'm Dr. Greg Cason, psychologist, and here with Monique. And it has been an amazing time hanging with you, Monique. And this is our fourth episode.
Did you say you're a PhD?
PhD.
I want them to know you're not like some kind of podiatrist or something. You're a PhD doctor.
I have respect for all the doctorates.
I do too.
So yeah.
I was involved with a podiatrist. I mean, feet matter.
Feet do matter. I have two of them. But it's really good to hang out with you and to be a part of this and to be a part of you and your life. And
so mutual. So we were in Disneyland, the happiest place on earth, and we spent 15 hours in the park?
So we were there from nearly the time it opened until a minute before it closed.
Yeah, 11:57. I'm not going to call you a liar for 3 minutes.
Oh,
but
3 minutes.
3 minutes. But I have an analogy about life, and it came to me hanging out with you.
What is that?
Well, the analogy is life is like Disneyland. And here's how it works. You go into the park, and you know the park's going to close. We know this. But nobody ever says, damn that Walt Disney, he's going to kick us out. No. The thing about Disney, and it's not because you spent all that money. You spent a ridiculous amount of money making sure we had the best day. We had lightning passes. Hello, I felt like Taylor Swift. I just walked on the rides. So, but here's the deal. I don't know if it's because of the price of the tickets or because it's Disneyland, but you stay in the moment. You take it all in. You never stop looking side to side and marveling at the beauty of it all, at the cleanliness, of the way it's planned, of the way it is designed to elicit joy from you all day long. And then you ride the ride. And I thought relationships are like the rides. Like the park is the experience, right?
Yes.
And then you ride the rides. And nobody gets off the ride and says, I gave you the best 7 minutes of my life. Give me my ears, jerk. You know, like nobody does that. Nobody says, why did it end? I was loving the pirates. This is wrong. We need to go to a marriage counselor. But you know what I mean? Like you get off the ride.
Yes.
And you gather yourself and you look around the park with joy and go, what am I going to ride next?
Yes, it's the next adventure.
And nobody ever sits on a bench and goes, what's my legacy going to be? What are the people walking around the park looking at me, thinking of me?
No.
Like all of those thoughts, because I really unpacked it because we were so happy.
It was an incredibly happy day. And for me, I mean, just hanging out with you is incredible. Everyone knows that.
Tell me why. Because they don't know that. And I want to know why, because talking about it will be the specifics of friendship. If we talk about why it was so great, it'll allow people to look at their lives and go, this is why this is not great, because this is not happening when we're together.
Part of it is I think you're incredibly easygoing. And I mean, we just kind of took the day as it came. And we had really, it was just like, let's do this, let's do that. And, you know, sometimes I'd say, hey, let's go over here. And you'd say, nah, I don't feel like it. Let's go over there. And we would just do something different. It always worked out beautifully.
But if you really wanted to go over there, I would have gone.
Oh, yeah.
Because I know the park well. Could you tell I kind of knew the flow? Like,
you knew.
I know the park. I had annual passes for, like, and here's the other thing. Energetically, there's a flow. There's an energetic flow. People do weird things. Like when a line is long, more people get in it because they go like, it's going to get longer.
Yep.
It's a psychology where if you just go to another ride and circle back in an hour, it won't be longer. You won't have missed anything. Even if it is a little bit longer, you weren't standing in it. So
I have to tell you about Monique at Disneyland, because one thing that was so kind of cool and very interesting is people would come out of the woodwork to want to talk to her, especially men. I don't know if you noticed, But especially like the photographers were like, "Hey, you," or that ride operator on that one of the rides we were on, just wanting to like focus in and talk. And then you came back, are you doing this? No, 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 no. And just everywhere we went, and we just had such a good time. But I think what always marvels me about Disneyland, I used to work there for years, so I have a
How
different.
many years?
I actually don't know, about at least 4 or 5 years.
Did you work your way up the chain, or did you like?
No. I was a busboy at Club 33, which was the private
great
club
gig.
there. Yeah, that was a great,
gig.
And then I got tired of that, and I tried out for the character department. I was in that department
So
for a
I
while.
think that's a step up, busboy to character. I think you did work your way up
Then when
the
I
chain.
graduated college, it was a recession. I could not get a job anywhere. So I went back to Disneyland, and I went to the human resources, which they call casting. And I went to them, and they said, "Well, where do you want to work?" And I said, "How about Jungle Cruise?" So I did that for a while. So it was all fun.
I love the jokes when they say we're going to point out some vegetation. There's some. I know all the jokes. I know all the
There you
Jungle
go.
Cruise
Right
jokes.
There's
Yeah.
some up there too.
The back of water.
Side of water. Yeah, it's amazing. All of the Disney has a certain magic to it. But one thing it really kind of zoned in is, one, in Disney, no one is a star and everyone's a star. It's sort of like everyone is in the same place. And number two, everyone is in a good mood. And even though it was incredibly crowded, people just all moved together and made room for each other. And this was kind of part of the magic, even though Disney did not design the crowd was so influenced by Disney that they just all moved together in one big dance.
I have to unpack everything. I loved he said dance, because the whole day I was thinking, I need to crack the code why this is the happiest place on earth. And I'm telling you why, because you feel safe and loved.
You do.
And there's a book by Tim Robbins, I believe, called Skinny Legs and All. It was a big book. He wrote a lot of books, even Cowgirls Get the Blues. Like, he was a pretty famous writer in the 70s and 80s. Even, is it Tom Robbins?
I don't know.
Yeah, anyway, he wrote a lot of books. I read them when I was much, much younger in the 80s, and they made an impression. But one of the lines in one of his books was, "It's never too late to have a happy childhood."
I love that.
And I think that's what Walt Disney piled on. I think he just piled on the icing of, because I've never heard anybody say, we are adults of God. At the end of the day, we are all children.
Yes.
And we're always children. And throughout the day, you kept getting more excited because every time you said, I'm a little kid, I'm a child, oh my God, I'm a spaz, I kept saying, that's why we're here, bring it. I was like Morpheus, like, bring the child, bring it, bring the child. And we just flowed. Yeah. And I think the fact that we as friends flow so well and are always happy, joy is magnetic. People want to be around happy people. And when you have the happiest girl in the world in the happiest place on earth, that's a lot of magnetic pull. Because I'm a very happy person, organically.
And I think I was orbiting in that amazing magnetism. That
you
was
were
all around me.
you were having a blast, and that's why I'm bringing the analogy back full circle. Because throughout the day, I was unpacking the magic of Disney and why it works. Operative word, works. Disney understands on a core cellular corporate level, there is no stasis on a physical plane. You're either growing or dying. You're either living or dying. I mean, Bob Dylan said it too. Yeah. But the upshot is they're constantly shape-shifting the park.
Yeah.
They're constantly renewing, painting, shape-shifting, making it better and better and better. They never go, this is good enough. This is okay. If there's some cracks in the seats on the rides, Magic Mountain, we're just going to leave them. You know what I mean? Like no. Everything is pristine. And the reason that I bring that up is because we have choices as people to stay energetically pristine.
Yes.
That's why I tell people, when you're in a relationship, when you fight, it's like scratching a car. Like, you can fix it, you can buff it, but it's not the car that never was scratched. That's why I constantly encourage people, it's not about, and I'm sure you do this, you're a doctor. Do you advise your clients, like, if you're going to fight, don't fight dirty, use certain words? Like, how do you teach people how to fight?
A lot of time I teach them what not to do, because there are some certain things that are quite destructive in fights. And if we can avoid those, we can have a more productive fight. Fighting, by the way, is completely normal. And in a relationship, you don't think so?
No, I said I don't like it.
Oh, no one likes it. No one likes it.
Oh, that's a lie. I think some people on an unconscious level actually do.
Well, maybe I'll go with you there, but I don't disagree. But on the conscious level, most people will say they don't like it.
On a conscious level.
That indeed fighting, though, is something two people do, and they're working out a problem, and you want them to be able to work out the problem and have a better resolution on the side. And what you'll see is couples who do this, and they'll grow stronger over time. It's like when you're working out a muscle and you break the muscle down, but then it rebuilds even stronger.
I'm not going to disagree with that.
But the one thing I think about is couples can fight dirty, and they can do things that are quite destructive. And those destructive things can tear down the muscle without repair.
Tell me like one destructive behavior.
Well, a good one is, probably the worst of all is contempt towards your partner. Looking down upon your partner, saying negative things to them. Saying not just negative things like, you never do the dishes, which is criticism and it's bad. Contempt is, you're a pathetic, loser. You're bad.
Wow, that's a big difference. You never do the dishes.
People say that. People say stuff like that.
And they think they're going to come back from that?
And, well, they might for a while, but then that relationship is just eroding. It's like sulfuric acid upon the relationship. Eventually, it'll just crumble and die.
See, you want me to tell you why I'm the most challenging person to be with?
Why?
Because 85% of the time, I let everyone around me have their way. 85%. That 15%, non-negotiable. Because I feel like if I'm letting you do everything else, see, when I was, that's Ruben didn't turn his phone off, but we forgive him.
Hey, Ruben.
So I had a boyfriend once, and he said, and he thought he was hurling a big insult. He goes, you don't compromise. I go, no, I don't. Just like that, big smile on my voice. Bully for you for figuring that out. I said, if scientists are in a lab and they say, the experiment was compromised, nobody popped champagne. No, everybody's upset and a bunch of Petri dishes go in the garbage can. Because what I've learned from compromise is that neither person gets what they want. And both of them hold a little, like when we were together in Disney, even though we were flowing and I said, let's go over here, and you went over there, and you'd say, let's go over there. And I'd say, I don't think that's a good idea. Let's go this way.
Like I want to go on a roller coaster right after lunch, and you're like, no, not a good idea.
Yeah. But,
and so I'm like, okay.
But you have a strong stomach. Yeah. Somebody could have gotten a Technicolor waterfall. I know my stomach, it's not going to work. But the upshot is, was there anything you wanted to do besides the roller coaster? And I apologize that we missed it. But seriously, was there anything you wanted? Yeah, of course, we're gonna get passes. That you wanted to do that I didn't do? Tell the truth. We're right here in front of everybody.
I'm telling you the truth. I'm struggling because I actually kind of had a perfect day. That it just seemed so effortless and easy. I don't know. I don't think there was nothing. I feel like it was just so easy and comfortable that I didn't feel like I wanted anything different.
Well, want me to tell you how that works?
How does that work?
When you genuinely love somebody, and you and I are dear friends, you must, and I don't usually say you should or you could. See, this is the 15% I don't compromise.
Okay.
You must take into consideration, genuinely from your soul, what will make them happy. So when you kept saying, I'm a kid, I want to, and you
true.
kept asking me.
I
and
felt a little embarrassed because I was like, I want to run and go on all the rides.
And we did, and we walked fast, and we did
Yeah,
like
yeah.
20,000 steps. And he kept saying, and again, using my analogy, my analogy is like perfect. When I said the rides are relationships, when you kept saying to me, but my other friends get tired, but my other friends make fun of me. Isn't that how it is in life? When you're dating a new person, you talk about the challenges you had with the other people in that experience.
That's true. That's true.
And I kept saying, I'm not your other friends.
No, you did.
I will go toe to toe with you. We will be the last people to leave this park. Because see, we went into the day at the park knowing what kind of people we were. We didn't trick each other. We didn't say, I'm a stay all day at the park girl, and then at 9 o'clock, I'm like, Greg, I'm tired. And a lot of times in relationships, in order to...
No, you thought you thought I might wuss
I totally thought you were going to wuss out. You were like Iron Man, because I'm tough. I'm tough and strong.
I was actually surprised about you, so we were both surprised.
Okay. And isn't it better when you're surprised?
Yes, pleasantly surprised.
When you're pleasantly surprised, when somebody exceeds your expectations. See, that's the whole day my computer brain was firing on, A, why is the park the park? How do people feel in the park? Why does nobody get in a fight and say, I was in line first or you got in my way? No, there's an energy that comes over you that is polite. That is, hey, no, you've got a kid in a stroller. Of course you go ahead of us. Like that happened several times. Because what is your theory on strollers in Disneyland?
I said they're either storage lockers or plows.
And we almost got plowed a couple times.
Yeah, oh no, they don't use them as to carry actual children. They either put all their stuff in them and push it around, or they are just pushing the crowds open.
Right, and guess what? That didn't bother us.
No.
On several occasions, we were almost plowed. And the reason I'm saying all of this is because it's the absolute perfect analogy. When you go into a relationship, you go into an experience and you spell it out. I stay there all day. I'm making 2 meal reservations because we're staying. We're going to eat breakfast and we're going to eat dinner. And we'll eat snackies in between. You told me what my experience with Dr. Greg Cason was going to be in Disneyland. And I went, bring it. And then I told you, that is the experience I too enjoy. That is what I would like to do. See, I don't understand why in non-romantic physical relationships, people don't get that it goes so much better when you're just yourself. When you just go into it. Because one of the things that I always think in relationships is that people, I have a theory. Would you like to hear my theory?
I do. I love theories.
I have a theory that when people fall in love, they do not fall in love with the other person. They fall in love with themselves, with the person they become in that person's presence. What do you think of that?
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, I think our partner is always a mirror for ourselves, and it's a mirror of our higher selves. You want to see it. You see all the good in your partner. You are, in fact, seeing it in yourself, but you're seeing it reflected back to you. So I absolutely agree with that.
You're patient, you're kind, you're tolerant, you're all of those things. And my question, and here's going to bring us straight into the middle of the swim of the topic. My question is, what makes that end? What makes that shift?
What makes relationships end?
Well, what makes that lavender haze, as they said on, it was actually from an episode of Mad Men. Before Taylor Hayes made it a song, Lavender Haze was a quote from an episode of Mad Men where he's talking about being in love with Betty Draper.
Yeah.
And this wonderful character says to him, oh, you're in the lavender haze. And I loved it. I said, that's exactly. So I understand the lavender haze. It's chemistry, it's magic, it's a thing. I understand
it's
like a
drug.
Like
it's
a fog, it lifts.
Yeah.
But here's my question, legitimate question. What makes it lift? And do some people manage, and I know the answer to the question, but I want to hear your take.
Well,
do some people manage to keep that civility, that feeling, that Disney? No, you first, please. How do people, let's reverse engineer it. What makes it go away?
It always changes, but it changes for good for many people, or it could change for bad for some. That lavender haze, I believe, it's called limerence. It's the phase that really glues
Limerence?
us
There's
together.
a word for
There
it?
is a word for it. It's that drug high of being in love. And when you meet somebody and you really just go into high heaven, like you're just like, oh my God, this is the most amazing person, and you can't stop thinking about them. But it's part of the bonding process. I had this with my cat. Believe it or not, I went through a limerence process that I could not stop thinking about my cat. And I was like, oh, I'm bonding with it.
What's the cat's name?
It was Elizabeth Taylor. E.T. I called her E.T. for short.
Adorable.
Yeah. But yeah, so I went through that whole thing. So limerence is a real thing. It's that drug high that connects you to the other person, makes you always want to be with them. But it also makes you a little bit obnoxious to your friends and family because you never want to see them and you don't want to spend time,
I feel
around.
that way when I'm not in a relationship.
Well, that could be as well. But
Mostly kidding, mostly.
But then that transition out of it happens after about 6 to 12 months.
Is that how long limerence lasts?
Typically, yeah.
Are you going to feel
Typically. It could
differently
be
about me in
shorter.
11 months?
No.
Okay, good.
No. Our
What's after limerence?
Okay, so then you go into this working phase, and in the working phase, you're kind of starting to find the pattern with each other. This is when the couple really starts to find their footing and they start to reestablish their outside lives so that they can start to be with friends, family, but bring their partner into the picture. It's really the moment that they really start to come together on some significant levels. But there's a lot of working going on. This is when they
Can we use the word effort?
do
Work,
make effort.
because work sounds like the Volga boatmen, like yo ho heave ho. Like
No, but it's a phase when you are working out things together, and if you get through that, then the couple really starts to hum along and do much better, and the couple will deepen and deepen over time. And there might be setbacks and problems and all kinds of things that do happen. And there's a whole 7-year itch thing. We can go on
I
down
think
the
the
line.
7-year itch is real.
Yeah, me too. And then, but it could be at 3 years. I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to go.
It's the
full
same
7.
itch, just sooner.
It's the same itch.
Put some calamine on that baby.
But what couples do is they deepen and deepen and deepen. And that's when the couple is really going to have the much stronger relationship. And that's when they say, this is my best friend, my everything. This is a person I'll do anything for. It's 100% at that point. And that's when the couple fully deepens together. Now, there are, people who they have other problems that are keeping them apart, and they might have other conflicts.
Like, what are the main conflicts that keep people apart?
Well, then going back to those issues that we talked about, and when that goes to the Gottmans, John and Julie Gottman identified as what they call the 4 horsemen of the relationship apocalypse.
Oh.
And that goes to contempt.
Apocalypse.
It goes to contempt. It goes to criticism. It goes to defensiveness. And it also goes to ultimately stonewalling. But there's a 5th, and it's kind of stonewalling is sort of like shutting down completely. The flip side of silent treatment.
Silent treatment.
Bad for relationships.
And
but the
I don't know. I've heard some men say that when their wife gives them the silent treatment, not so bad. Just being honest.
Oh, okay. But the flip side of the silent treatment is perhaps violence. And that would be extremely destructive.
Well, yes.
And that is not even in the 4 horsemen. That is like in a category unto itself.
Yeah, that's beyond just,
Yeah.
That's contempt is a strong word.
Contempt is bad. Contempt is when you look down upon your partner. You think you're better than they are.
But aren't there a lot of people that kind of think their partner's punching above their weight class?
Yes, and then those people are actually, it's abusive to the other person. When you can't look at your person and have respect for them and their dignity.
You know what's funny? I write bits. I always tell people I don't tell jokes. I tell the truth and wrap it in bacon so you'll eat it.
She does.
I do. And I did a bit many years ago. I'm going to tell you 08, because I remember the bit because everything comes from real life. And I remember thinking it is more important for a woman to respect a man than to love him. Because love sometimes is conditional. Like when you hear a woman go, I love my husband, I really love him. And she means it. but he's a slob and he's this and he's that and da, da, da. And she's infantilized him. And she does love him, and you know, they bump uglies and all that good stuff. But deep down in her heart, she doesn't believe the best in him. She doesn't have faith in him, and she doesn't really respect him as a man. Have you met couples like that?
Oh gosh, all the time. I mean, not all the time, but it does happen. But
I think a man can feel when a woman really holds him in admiration and respect. I think it's like spiritual Viagra when you're like, oh, my husband, he's the best. He can do anything.
You have to respect, you don't have to respect someone, but my God, if you're in a relationship where you can't respect the other person, I don't know that that's a relationship to be in, because because you can respect someone for so many things, including the fact that they do, you know, perhaps like go to a job, that they have friends, that they take care of their mother, that, you know, they've got these qualities that you can really respect. You might see him as a slob and he can't dress and he belches at dinner and has got these bad habits. But you actually can step back and see him as
the bigger picture.
A bigger picture.
He gets the job done.
Yeah. And that to me would be very important. And I agree with you that respecting would be a huge.
Do you think social media has made people pettier?
Yes. I think social media has exacerbated all of our worst tendencies. I think social media, for the good it brings, and we're getting to talk to you because of social media, so I'm not knocking.
Well, technology.
This is a
and
gift.
social media. Absolutely. Sorry about the alarms. I live in Hollywood, and it's such a beautiful night. We have the window wide open.
Hollywood.
Sirens.
But I mean, but that to me is so cool. Like, hello, I wish you were right here in the living room. That would be amazing.
They might feel like they are.
But social media also does some other things.
A lot of comparison.
A lot of comparison. Compare and despair. You know, that's social media in a nutshell. And people put their best selves on social media.
They put fake selves. It's not even their best selves. It's their unreal, fake, doctored up, photoshopped. Let's be honest.
I don't put a crappy picture of myself on social media. I mean,
you take a crappy picture.
I take many a crappy picture, and I don't put pictures on social media of me doing laundry, or me getting up in the morning and shuffling around the house, or me. You know, getting upset about X, Y, or Z.
What upsets you?
I don't know. Let me think.
Okay. When you think, you can just
Well,
say.
I don't like it when people are disrespectful. I don't like it when people...
Who could disrespect you?
No. Well, I mean, you know, there's gym etiquette.
Not the gym.
I don't get upset. I don't get super upset, but I get annoyed. You know, and so someone is not practicing good gym etiquette, I can become annoyed. Like when they're hogging all the weights, and I went up to someone who was hogging all the weights, and I said, like a bunch of weights, and I said, oh, can I use the, you know, whatever, one of the kettlebells? And she's like, no, I'm using all of these. And there was no way she was using, I mean, she
only
just...
got 2 arms.
Yeah, exactly.
See, that's where you need me, because I'd have walked up and said, you get 2, pick them now. You know I would.
But
you are hurting my friend.
I certainly got annoyed in that moment. And I didn't say anything. I was like, you know, like I'm not gonna say or do anything. I just walked away from that particular one. But there are lots of things that, you know, but I don't try to hang on to anger that I have about people. Of course, we all feel it. I mean, there are all kinds of things that can make you upset, and you can choose to hang on to it, or you can choose to let it go. And sometimes letting it go is a little bit more difficult than it is other times. But when it's easy to let go, hell yes, I want to let it go.
Well, here's my question to you, and this is kind of the crux of the matter. We've talked about a lot of things around the core issue, but how often do you think people can look at a relationship and say, I have outgrown this, it doesn't work for me anymore? Even with things they do within their own lives, like maybe beliefs. I tell people sometimes beliefs are like your old pot smoking friends from college. Like sometimes you get to a point in your life where like, I've evolved beyond this. I don't need to believe this. I don't need to feel this way about a certain thing. And I recently had a very powerful experience, as you know, because you were the first person I texted.
Oh.
I was in a minor fender bender. And when I say minor, nobody got hurt. The airbags didn't deploy, but but I just got the estimate. It's like $19,000.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the car was extremely damaged.
Yes, yes. And yeah, the front end. And, it was the best case of a worst case scenario in that it's an electric car and it does this little thing that evidently they do that I'm not used to. It kind of surges sometimes. It was an issue. There was an issue with the car. I was driving slow in stop and go traffic on Sunset. And here's the interesting thing about the car wreck. As soon as I made impact, I mean, literally hit the other car after I got through screaming because I was standing on the brake and the car was still going. I went into first generation immigrant, keep your head down. And these are all the thoughts that went through my head. Maybe you don't deserve such a nice car. Your insurance is going to cancel you. You're over a certain age. It's going to be almost impossible to get another car. Meaning like insured in the state of California because they make it so hard as it is now. I pay a lot of insurance. And I went down this fear of, the man. I was afraid of my insurance agent who's always been lovely to me to make the call. I just went into this fear, this primal, keep your head down, get a job at the post office, make sure you have good benefits. And I'm not knocking people that work at the post office because I had to do a change of address to move into our new location, move into my new apartment. And the girl, Anna, at the post office on Wilcox in LA could not have been nicer or more wonderful. And the point I'm making, though, is that I was not raised to believe or expect that I could find a way to have the very nice things and that people would treat me well. And I'm being very candid. I've seen people with privilege. I don't want to name any colors even because I've met all kinds of people of all stripes, but they have generational wealth or they went to certain schools or they were part of a certain fraternity and they are at ease with the world. And my neighbor in my old building is one of them. And when I was still so shook up and upset, he goes, Monique, you're allowed to have an accident. People have accidents. They'll fix your car. And he said it with such aplomb, like, girl, that's why you pay so much premium. They're not going to cancel you, especially now they want to get more money from. But so I called you, I texted you.
Yeah.
And then you said you want me to come get you, which was so kind. And then I called him and I asked him, you have an electric car. Does your car ever do something weird? And it's a thing. Other people have said yes, and there was a recall and da-da-da. And all I wanted to know was that I wasn't crazy, that sometimes things go wrong and it's not necessarily your fault. Okay, fine, who cares? I pay a lot of insurance. But I made a decision after talking to you, because first I said, let me get home, because I was like, everybody's taking pictures of everybody, And then I called you and we had a very decent conversation. And then I hung up the phone and I was calm. I was calm. I had this moment where I made a conscious decision. Those small scarcity, non-deserving beliefs don't serve me. And I decided to use this wreck as a sacrificial lamb. It's like it crashed those thoughts out of me. I made a conscious decision that I did not want to be afraid of, whatever, corporate America or, whatever, like the man. That's the only way I can put it.
Encroaching things upon our lives.
Agencies and bureaucracies. And I made a decision. And I have to repeat, the greatest gift my brother ever gave me when he died was that it reminded me life is short, death is sure. It didn't make me completely fearless, but it certainly changed my paradigm. But this accident and having the life and the opportunities that I've been having lately, I talked to you and I went to bed and I slept like a baby. And when I first woke up, I remembered, oh yeah, you can't drive your car. Like for a moment, because I had to go to the airport. So I called Ruben, whose phone went off a little while ago, and said, hey, can you pick me up and take me to the airport? I didn't want to drive. I didn't, I wanted somebody that I trust. And he said yes. And I thought to myself, today's going to be a great day. I had a show. I had to get up the next morning and fly to San Francisco.
That's right.
Early in the day. I said, today's going to be a great day. And things are going to go my way. And I am privileged because I am a child of God. I am privileged. There's nothing to be afraid of. I've paid my dues. I've paid my premiums. And then I thought of my neighbor, Steve, you're allowed to have an accident. And when I landed, there was a call from the agent from Farmers named Tara. And I'm saying it on purpose because that woman treated me like a visiting dignitary. And I like to believe it's because I made a decision not to be afraid. And I even told her, because she said, hi. I called her. I said, I'm sorry I didn't get your message. I didn't pick up. I was in the air. I was still solicitous and a little nervous, but I said, I was in the air. I just landed in San Francisco. Oh, are you traveling on top of, are you vacation? No, not vacation. I'm a stand-up comedian, blah, 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 blah. And she goes, oh, you had an accident on top of everything else. You're busy. So sweet. And wow. I said, yeah, but it was the best of a bad scenario. My car did this weird thing where it lurched forward and there was nobody in the crosswalk, and my 82-year-old mother wasn't in the front seat, and the didn't deploy, and the airbags, and my niece wasn't with me. She was supposed to be with me, and my brother was mad that I couldn't pick her up. You were with me when he was angry. And I kept telling her, you know what? I'm blessed. It's fine. And I pay a premium and things happen, and you sound like, your voice sounds like you have a smile in it. And she said, oh, I do. I'm glad that you're okay. And look, some people don't like it when they're employed. I mean, they record the calls. I think she said something like, God bless or whatever. And I said, amen or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, okay, we're allowed. I didn't call Farmers and go, you should hire atheists. Because I got what I wanted. That is what I wanted.
She's so amazing. She
was lovely. Tara was lovely. She treated me like a visiting dignitary. And I thought to myself, it's working. It is working. My belief that a part of me got knocked out in that crash is working. And I think that we don't, as human beings, assess our beliefs, our relationships, our friendships, where we work. On a regular basis, I do that. I stop and go, hey, let's get to the core. What is this nervousness, or what is this upset, or what is this imbalance? Where's that coming from? I don't just let things ride. That's why I'm happy, because I don't think unhappiness happens in one moment.
No, that's right.
You tell me, you're the doctor.
Well, I think it's a series of decisions we make, and it's a series of decisions we make that can make us happy as well. But I do think, there are circumstances, external, internal, etc. But you had a very severe external circumstance that most people would be upset by, and you were upset for a very short time.
Right, but I was very, very upset for that short time.
Then you made a decision. I'm going to leave it there. You're
right.
Going to leave it at the crash site.
And I meant it. And I left a whole bunch of other stuff at the crash site.
Right on, which was an incredible thing to do, because that's our brains have such great gifts to give us, and that is one that it can help us to make a decision to go on to the future in a much bigger and better way, that you can leave some of the past trauma behind. It's not like you'll forget it, but what you did was forgive it. And when I say forgive it, it's like you let go of the emotional weight it was holding on you.
Absolutely. And guess what? The adjuster, Mario, I don't know his last name. I knew his last name because Tara kept calling me Miss Marvez, and I said, I apologize, Tara. I don't have your last name, so I cannot respond to you with the same courtesy that you were talking to me. But Mario did leave his last name on the message, and I feel bad I don't know it, because, again, he spoke to me with respect and kindness, and look, you take it to the body shop, this is going to happen, and that's going to happen, and it's going to get handled, and, we're going to send you X amount, and then you're going to pay your deductible. And it was like, hey, it's nothing personal. You had an accident. It's okay. You sound like a nice person. And I think part of people's trauma and upset isn't even so much the past. It's their choice to make things more personal and complicated and more about them in a negative as opposed to a positive.
That's exactly right. But you also bring up a side topic, Mario, and then the woman whose name I'm already forget, Tara. We forget how casual, incidental, relationships, like just a person in customer service on the phone with somebody else. In a moment of trauma for you, it's just a job for them. But instead of them just walking through the paces, she reached out and gave you a gift during that time.
Absolutely.
And that, how much that meant to you. And she may have forgotten that, she may be on to the next call after that, but the gift she gave to you was real and it made a real impact. And I think when we're in these kind of traumatic incidents, like a car accident or something else happened, those casual, incidental relationship moments are huge. They blow up for us. And that is the gift we can give to people during those times. In fact, every moment of every day, we're giving gifts to people.
We have the opportunity.
We do.
It's interesting you should say that because, again, I think The Matrix was a documentary, and I think there is no spoon.
I do love that movie.
I believe that I conjured Tara, that there is no spoon, that she was a reflection of my decision to leave certain things behind that don't work for me, those beliefs. And I want to ask you something.
Yeah.
How often do couples come to you and assess the parts of their marriage or their lives, or like, I thought I wanted to sell insurance, but I really don't, and I don't know how to change it, and my family has an expectation. Do people, I'm going to ask you two questions, and then I'm going to be quiet for a little while, which is so rare. Number one, do people work to acknowledge where their life is? Do people self-assess?
Oh, yeah. I think coming to therapy is an act of self-assessment. Almost always.
Okay.
Even if they don't know it, like they're coming in because they're having, some relationship problem, or they're mad about what their mom is doing or what's happening at work, etc. They're coming in with that, but ultimately they are self-assessing, and that's where the money is, when they can start to really look at themselves. And, I'm continually amazed by the brilliant people that come in to see me. It sounds a little goony, but...
It never sounds goony. It sounds nice and respectful and positive, and like you still love what you do.
Oh my God. I mean, I had a new client today. It was a woman. I won't say anything more than that, but just to say that she was so insightful and so open and wanting to work on it. And she was like, this is my problem. She just came out and said it, not like she was trying to blame anybody else. She just said, here's my problem. And I need to deal with this.
Is it a behavior? Does she say, I do this?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah.
And she said, I don't want to do this anymore.
Exactly.
I love that.
Oh, I was completely impressed. And she was upset about having done that. And I was trying to normalize it.
Did she say I date bad men and then I marry them and then I have to give them half my stuff? Because that's what I would have said to you. It wasn't me. I'm not the new client. I'm not the new client. But when I went to hypnotherapy, I went thinking that it was about, I want to lose weight. But it was actually, I wanted to lose 210 pounds.
210 pounds. And his name? Oh,
and his name was.
Yeah. But I mean, I'm continually amazed by this. So people do come in as it's an act of self-assessment therapy, and they're trying to improve themselves. But what they don't know is by improving themselves, they improve everybody else around them as well. So it's actually a good thing that, we're putting good back into the world. So I really love the therapy part because it is a gift and it is an exchange, and I love seeing people get better. And
they do get better.
And they do. And then also relationships. I love seeing them get better. And it pains me when people have pain that I like to see help their pain. But pain is because there's a wound. So we have to address the wound. Is it a wound,
or sometimes do people cause themselves pain because they keep slamming their finger in the door?
Well, there's that too. I mean, there are all kinds of ways that we can land up in pain. But with that particular one, that's actually the easier one to deal with, because you can say,
Walk me through it.
Yeah.
Somebody says,
I'm slapping my finger in the door.
No, well, they say, like, I just can't seem to stop dating, me personally, I was like the Statue of Liberty of sad white alcoholic men.
Well,
I know I'm being redundant, because if you're drinky pants, you're sad.
The bottom line is we're all attracted to not only good things, but bad things.
Well, I wasn't out there saying, like,
Nope.
Screaming you're tired, you're poor, you're huddled masses.
You're not attracted to it in a, I want to be with this person. You're unconsciously drawn to that because maybe you want to make
Go
that
ahead and say
person
it. Go
not
ahead and say
fix,
it.
but want to make that person not have it anymore so that you can finally have whatever you're looking for. And we kind of go through this with people but what we want to help people do, we're all kind of in this working out with another person. It's always happening. I always feel like our purpose in life, this is my biggest spiritual purpose. Our purpose in life, I believe, is that we are coming together as human beings. Like we're all going to eventually end up as one big blob.
Really?
I hope so.
I love that.
I love that the energy is that
Like
we'll
a
finally
big
all
angel
be together.
orgy.
Yeah. Yes, exactly right.
Brian just lost it.
Being an angel
I
would
think
be
if Brian was drinking, he would have spit.
But yes, exactly. And that is our purpose in life. But we always are working out these conflicts. But what I try to help people to is to not get in their way, because people get in their own way constantly.
Well, that's the whole, you and I were talking earlier today, because we had a wonderful breakfast, which on top of Disney, he treated me to brekkie, because it's literally called the Great White Brekkie.
Yeah, that's the name.
When we were talking earlier, you know, everybody talks about manifesting, you know, the law of attraction and the law of deliberate creation, like, oh, I have vision boards and Pinterest and affirmations. But I think one of the things you and I agree on is the hardest law is the law of allowing, to get out of our own way.
Yeah.
And I said something really smart this morning.
So true.
I said something really smart.
You always say smart things, so it's hard to narrow it down.
Well, we were walking down the street, and I said, because one of the things that Dr. Greg does is that he really wants for people in such a loving way. You do. You want them to be happy, and you want them to live a better life. And that's why he does what he does, and he does it so well. And that's why we get on so well, because I'm a comedian, and I want people to be happy also, and I want them to laugh.
Quite literally your job.
It is my job to make people happy. But here's what I've learned over the last few years and why I am indeed the happiest girl on earth. The bitterest pill, and we talked about Alanis Morissette, because I think naming an album Jagged Little Pill is genius. The bitterest pill I ever swallowed in my whole life, and I swallowed it for my brother that passed.
Yeah.
My brother that passed was a genius. My brother JC, if you guys think I'm smart and I know things, my brother JC forgot more things than most people ever knew in their lives. A true fact. Like, he could watch Jeopardy while doing bong hits and get all the answers. He could literally go like, Alec, what is the Ottoman Empire? You know what I mean? I'm not even kidding. He was brilliant. And it troubled me for many years that he didn't become, you know, the vice president of Google or something. You know what I mean? Like with his unbelievable intellect. And everybody thinks people in their family are smart. I got paperwork. I mean, he took tests at college for tech, and they were like, don't take all 5 tests in one day. Don't be surprised if you fail the first time. You can take them again. My brother took 5 tests. Like, he taught Citrix to the military. He took 5 tests in one day. They said, don't schedule them for one day. He got the highest scores the school had ever seen.
Wow.
And I found, after he died, in a suitcase, 3 perfect scores.
Wow.
And 2 98s.
Wow.
Okay, so when I got, as Whitney says, I got the receipts, you know. Wow. My brother, and I always wanted for him. I yearned. I wanted him to have a better life. I wanted him to I'm going to be honest, the things I didn't even put on myself. I wanted him to make more money. I wanted him to have prestige. I wanted him to date nicer women. More importantly, I wanted him to think more of himself, about himself, and have more respect and love for himself. And I was so challenged by that. And at some point, about 10 years ago, maybe longer, I said in my head, and I call it Cliff Notes from God. I apologize if I get emotional. I always hear song. I feel that God speaks to me through art and music. Yes. And one day I was thinking about my profound love for my brother, because I did adore him. The first thing I unpack is my picture of me and my brother as children. And it's okay. I cry all the time. I'm a big baby and I believe it. I think
All
everyone
right.
should cry
It's okay.
all the time. But what I will say about my brother is that I call it Cliff Notes from God. When I have an issue that I can't work out, I just leave it alone. And then I'll hear the lyrics of a song on the radio, or I'll read a book and I'll hit a passage. And I literally have coined the term Cliff Notes from God. And I heard Steely Dan, because my brother and I both love Steely Dan, and they have a song,
The Asia album.
Deacon Blues.
Oh, Deacon Blues is on the Asia
I
album.
want to learn the saxophone. I play just what I feel. Drink Scotch whiskey. Anyway. It's about a jazz musician, and my brother played the stand-up bass. That's what he wanted to do.
Wow.
And he did just enough tech so that he could collect comic books and go to Comic-Con and sit in the back of a comic book store and teach kids how to play Dungeons and Dragons on an actual board, and teach them how to play chess and mentor them in gaming, and talk about why DC is so much better than Marvel because they have better backstories. And he was cremated in a Superman t-shirt, and he lived exactly the way he wanted to live. And the most jagged little pill I ever swallowed was after hearing Deacon Blues. They call Alabama the Crimson Tide. Call me Deacon Blues. They have a name for the winners in the world. I want a name when I lose. I just want to be me. I just want to play jazz. I just want to read comic books. I want to be left alone. I want to live the way I want to live. Stop having expectations. And when I heard Deacon Blues, it was like a lightning bolt. A lightning bolt hit me, and I let go of every expectation I ever had of him. And I just started loving him for the little brother that he was, and the genius that he was, and the ways he would make me laugh because he was so quick and bright and amazing. And when I did that, it was a conscious decision, divine conscious decision, because I wanted to fix that thing that was a rift between us.
Yes.
And it was the template. I mean, the last years of his life, we were peas and carrots. Prior than that, we had a lot of issues with sibling rivalry, you would call it, but it wasn't that. It's on me. It's on me. Because the minute you want more for other people, the subtext is you're not good enough the way you are. You don't mean it that way, but that's what it is. When you allow people to meet you where they are, where they're doing the best they can. When my father, who was a genius, used to say, that's where my brother got it from, you don't have to tell the fat kid he's fat. My dad used to say, when I was a little girl, he would give me these kind of parable wisdom. Monique, you don't have to tell the fat kid he's fat. He knows it. And that's just grown in my whole life, bigger and bigger. The reality of that just expands and expands in so many ways. I was screaming at my brother in an unconscious way, you're the fat kid. You're so smart. You got everything. You know, we're Latino, but he was tall, fair-skinned. His name was Juan Carlos, but he called himself JC, and he had sandy hair. He was a towhead as a child. My brother was tall. He was brilliant. He was white, whatever that means. He had the world in my mind. The world wasn't hanging out in the back of a comic book store. In my mind.
Yeah, I get it.
And when I allowed, really in my soul, just be you, bro. Literally, just be you, little brother. You're the best. We were peas and carrots. We were close. You couldn't get a piece of paper between us. But thank goodness, between that moment of hearing Deacon Blues and him leaving this world. And that being said, I try to apply that template. The minute I start to feel, and I do it. I think it's a thing we do. You know, I want sound guy Tony to meet a really nice woman, and I'm constantly pushing him, like, do this, do that. But then I realized, like, Tony's going to meet a girl when he wants to meet a girl because he's got everything going for him. He's bright and he's attractive, and he owns a home, for crying out loud. I mean, who can say that in Southern California? Yeah.
I mean, it's amazing.
But he just bought the Jurassic Park pinball game, and that made him happier probably than having a girlfriend.
That's so cool.
He's been stalking that thing for years. But
8 years, 9 years?
Yeah.
30?
Yeah,
Whoa.
he wanted this pinball game.
Whoa.
He just told me about how happy he is. But it's a weird thing that I do, and I catch myself And I tell myself, leave Tony alone. Let Tony be Tony. Although if I did meet a woman I thought would be good for him, I've been trying to introduce him to my dog sitter. A story for another day. But there is no subtext that Tony is not good enough exactly the way he is. He knows that I adore him. You know that, right, Tony? It embarrasses him horribly. But I tell him I love him, and he just looks at me like, but I know he likes it. But the upshot is the law of allowing, the law of really just allowing. The hardest part, oh my God, we're almost done.
I know.
Where does it go?
I have to read something to you, but
okay.
But
I have a present.
It is the law of allowing, by the way. It all came back to that, and just allowing people to be who they are, and that's the ultimate acceptance that you can have with somebody, and that is the key to helping the relationship. And by the way, as you were talking about your brother, and I'm going to share this, I was telling my mom as I was driving from work coming over, and my sister's birthday's tomorrow. My sister passed away earlier this year, and you were extremely helpful during that time, and you were very key in helping me as part of the healing, especially because her death was a surprise. She's a younger sister of mine.
My brother might too. You expect to bury your parents, but not a younger sibling.
Not a younger sibling.
So painful.
And it was a complete surprise to everyone. And she was a strong force. And I totally agree. I had to just let her be who she is. Because I would be like, oh, she could be this or she could be that and da da da. But ultimately, she was extremely happy with where she was. She's had a husband, a beautiful house, and a great community with 2 beautiful kids. And, it's what it's about. I mean, she was so happy in her community and she loved living there. So that's it. And ultimately, and then she died. And life is so precious. And as you were talking, it was tearing me up just thinking about that. But thank you for that. Hey, I want to read something to you.
Please.
This is so funny to me because I do this thing. I don't know what comes over me. I do this thing where I ask AI, and I asked AI, ChatGPT, as a matter of fact, I said, how lucky am I to have Monique Marvez as a dear friend? I'm not kidding you. And I want to read this. You're incredibly lucky. Monique Marvez is a one-of-a-kind firecracker wisdom and fierce loyalty. Having her as a dear friend means you get a front row seat to the bold truth-telling, unfiltered humor, and deep well of emotional insight. She's not just funny, she sees people. And if she loves you hard. That friendship is rare and priceless. Oh my God. How did it know some of these words?
That's so crazy.
Because in a weird way, this is so spot on. And then I asked it, how lucky am I to be doing this Friends with Privileges podcast with her? It said, you are next level lucky. Doing Friends with Privileges podcast with Monique Marvez is like strapping yourself to a rocket powered by charisma, comedy, and unfiltered real talk. You're co-creating something that's not just entertaining, it's electric. Her fearless authenticity, your psychological insight, it's a match made in podcast heaven. Most people dream of that kind of dynamic. You're living it. And then I went one more.
Oh my, you're going to make me cry.
This was because I feel so privileged to talk to your fans.
But that's how but see, that's, and yours. You have fans. I've been on your podcast.
Yeah. But I'm
a performer. You're a doctor.
I'm not putting. I didn't mean to put down.
No.
People.
No.
But I wrote, how lucky am I get to know and interact with her incredible fans, because I've seen it live.
They're the best,
and they worship you.
And I them.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And I go out of my way to meet them
and listen to this. This is such a compliment to the fans. You're ridiculously lucky. Monique Marvez's fans aren't just followers. They're a tribe of fiercely loyal, whip-smart, emotionally tuned-in souls who've been moved, healed, and empowered by her words. Getting to know them means stepping into a circle of people who value truth, humor, and heart. They're the kind of audience that gets it. And getting to engage with them, that's not just lucky, it's a gift.
I think that, I think we need to end on that.
All right.
I think we need to end on that because I'm going to say one thing. The law of allowing, the first day I was on your show was July 1st last summer.
Oh.
It was a Monday, July 1st.
Wow.
And I remember things.
You do.
And I knew something was going to change. I just had to get out of my own way. I had to allow it. And interestingly enough, I knew good things were going to happen. And I, in this very moment, realized that the secret to really great relationships is always feeling like you're the lucky one. Because I feel exactly the same about you. I just don't know how to do ChatGPT.
That's a rabbit hole. Don't go down.
Okay. All right. So
I'm so happy because I'm incredibly fortunate.
Well,
I
then
feel
we're
lucky every day.
So let's wrap it up by saying, if you don't feel lucky, if something isn't working, it is possible to have an optimal situation. It is possible to be happy. It is possible to believe the best in yourself and others. It's absolutely not just possible, it should be what you strive for.
I can't top that. Yeah, go out there and just have an amazing day. Realize and look around at everything around you in life is positive. Disneyland. And choose to be happy every day.
I think I have a lockout for us. You ready?
Yeah.
Because we've been kind of doing a soft thing because we're like, let's see where it goes. I think this should be like, we'll go towards this because like I always on my other show say, love hard, forgive harder, and get as happy as you can, as fast as you can. I think that if Disneyland calls itself the happiest place on earth, that this podcast is the happiest place not on earth.
All right.
It's a podcast.
The happiest place not on earth.
Exactly.
I'm glad to be here.
We want to take you to the stratosphere. I'm Monique Marvez saying good night. It's good night now, but whenever you listen, it's good times. Thank you for listening.
And I'm Dr. Greg Cason. Thank you so much.